Yeah, I mean, obviously we've been watching the developments with the LVMHs of this world, but we've seen our business remain extremely resilient over the last 1 or 2 years, and even over the last 6 months. Our revenue growth has been close to 20% year to date. So I think there is a few factors playing to our strength. The first one being that we are powered in some ways by lower prices. Secondhand goods are cheaper than firsthand goods. So if you are looking for a better deal, secondhand is definitely the right way forward. We're also incredibly diversified across all the different brands on the platform. And last but not least, sustainability is, in the summer that we've seen and with the hurricanes in the US that we've seen, on top of everyone's mind. So how your consumer behavior is also sustainable is extremely important and clearly a reason why people are coming to us.
Is that lower price point also not why perhaps you haven't necessarily turned a profit? I mean, when do you see that happening, and what's the biggest delay?
I think the biggest delay is that we continued investing in marketing and in tech throughout the last 2, 3 years as the consumer sentiment has weakened a bit. Our order economics are actually as strong as they've ever been. Our gross margin is now almost 50%. And I think we should be getting to the profitability point in the next couple of quarters. So I'm fairly relaxed in that. For me, it was important that we continue, building the brand, especially in markets like the US, where our brand awareness is very low, and continue investing in tech and improving the customer and user experience.
Maximilian, lovely to see you today. Thank you. Can I ask you to start right at the beginning, and then we'll go through some more complicated questions. Why is there room for yourselves and Vinted and others in a world that is dominated in the second-hand marketplace by eBay?
That's a very good question. I mean, eBay, if you use it, and I don't know when is the last time you actually used eBay, I haven't for a while, is a monster, right? It has so many different categories, so many different things you can find there, that when you look at a category like ours, which is about an elevated shopping experience, despite, or even more so because it is secondhand, where people want to buy a beautiful bag or they want to buy a beautiful dress, so they want to not necessarily see it next to some motor oil. So this verticalization of eBay has really, given growth to players like ourselves. Yeah, and we've seen, this extreme focus around our brand, our category, and really making sure that we provide the right customer experience, really driving our growth over the last, 10 plus years now.
No, I'm genuinely fascinated in the sector, and thank you for that answer. Okay, my next question, sorry to bring up a load of rivals. Why Vestiaire and not Vinted?
I mean, why Vestiaire, not Vinted? Our average basket size is 350 euros. As far as I know, Vinted's average basket size is 15 to 20 euros. It's a completely different customer universe, right? I think there is, in our perspective, something to be said around trust. There's something to be said about elevation. There's something to be said about inspiration. And we are selling luxury goods, to some of the most sophisticated buyers and sellers in the world. So, they want to see a certain amount of curation, and they want to have a certain trust that what they're buying is authentic.
Get it. Completely different market. Understood. Next question. When do you anticipate, because this is part of the zeitgeist at the moment, I get it. It's infected my own house, Maximilian, and I don't do any of it, but dare I say it, the three ladies in my house, they're all buying and selling stuff. When will you IPO?
That's a good question. You guys are the financial experts. So I think the financial markets and IPOs, especially in consumer, is not at the sexiest as it's ever been. From our perspective, we're in no rush. Like I said, the big focus right now is to continue to scale the business, to invest in the brand, and slowly but surely getting to profitability. And I think everything else comes afterwards. I think the medium term to long term, we would be very excited about being a public company, but right now I think the macro environment is not making that too appealing.
Maximilian, I hear what you're saying, but I've just spent a lot of part of this show talking about record levels on various indices and valuations which are extended. So I always find this one quite interesting about when I hear a potential founder or an owner of a business that will IPO at some stage saying, oh, I'm not sure about the markets. But we're at record levels, Maximilian.
Again, I'm not a stock market expert. As far as I understand, there's massive growth being driven by AI. And like everyone else, AI plays a huge factor in how we run the business. And if you think about AI, and how it could both strengthen everything we do, like automating translation of all customer service like we've done, or by doing semantic search, which means that you use the visual picture and the description of how people search for a product. I mean, this has been a huge enabler of our push for growth and profitability, but we are not an AI stock itself. I'm not again, stock market expert, but the concentration around the growth of these bigger indexes, are really around a few names, which are feeding off each other in some sort of way. So, from our perspective, again, it's not on the top of my priority right now, but in the medium to long term, it's very excited. I think from my perspective, it's extremely important, to be an extremely healthy, profitable company when you go on the market, because you don't want to be dependent on, the market swings going up and down, because in some sort of ways you can't control that.
Yeah, makes sense.